welcome to the deep dive. Today we're doing something a little different.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a deep dive into learning English, and it's actually based on a YouTube video that you sent us.
Cool.
Yeah, it's from the English Podcast Zone channel, and it's called Learn English Quickly with Podcast English Learning Conversation, Episode 1.
Interesting.
So let's dive in and see what makes this approach tick.
Well, I think one thing that's interesting is how this video focuses on like practical everyday English.
Right.
Rather than just grammar rules.
Yeah.
It seems like it's really designed to help learners feel more comfortable like in real life situations, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And they do it through this dialogue between these two hosts, Marco and Erica.
Okay.
And they cover 3 key phrases in this video. In a bit of a hurry, contact details, and slipped my mind.
Okay.
And what I found interesting is how they break these down.
Yeah.
It's not just definitions.
Yeah.
You know, they provide multiple examples to show how the phrases are actually used.
That's so important because language is all about context.
Exactly.
So like, for example, slip my mind, could sound like you're making an excuse,
Right.
but they really emphasize that it genuinely means like, forgetting unintentionally.
Yeah.
Just little nuances like that can make a big difference.
Yeah, it's almost like they're teaching you how to navigate those subtle social situations.
Yeah.
Which can be tricky even for native speakers.
Absolutely.
So then they move on to like combining words and phrases for smoother communication.
Okay.
And they focus on 2 around here and terrible with. And this is where I think it gets really interesting.
Okay.
They point out the subtle differences between variations like around here, around the corner, and around there. And, mastering those nuances is what often separates like fluent speakers from those who are still learning.
Totally. You might understand the basic meaning, but using the right variation makes you sound so much more natural.
And then there's terrible with, which they show can be applied to all sorts of things, like numbers, directions, even faces.
Right.
It's such a versatile phrase to have in your English toolkit.
Absolutely. And they also use a lot of personal anecdotes, too.
Yeah.
Like Marco even admits he's terrible with names.
Oh, really?
And tells a story about forgetting his uncle's name at a family reunion.
Oh, that's so relatable.
Right.
It makes the whole thing feel more human and less intimidating.
Exactly. It's like they're saying, hey, we all make mistakes. It's part of being human.
For sure.
And then after that, they have this section called Fluency Builder, where they share specific tips for sounding more natural and confident in conversations.
Cool. What kind of tips?
Well, one of the tips they offer is using more casual greetings.
Okay.
Like, how's it going?
Right.
Instead of always saying, like, how are you?
Okay.
Which, again, comes down to understanding context.
You wouldn't use that with your boss.
Exactly. They also give advice on how to handle forgetting someone's name.
Oh, like what?
Like maybe asking for their business card.
Oh, that's smart.
Or discreetly checking their email signature for their name.
Oh, that's clever.
It's all about navigating those potentially awkward situations with grace.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, so let's shift gears for a second and talk about how the video uses dialogue repetition. They play the same conversation multiple times.
Yeah.
But at different speeds.
And that's where we get into the science of language learning a bit.
Oh, okay.
Like repeated exposure to the same phrases and sounds helps you internalize the language on a much deeper level.
Right.
It's like training your ear to pick up on the nuances of like pronunciation and intonation.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and it's almost like listening to a song over and over again. Eventually you just start singing along without even thinking about it.
Right.
And they also don't just focus on individual words or phrases.
Yeah.
They emphasize like putting it all together.
Yeah.
So they guide you on how to combine those words and phrases into longer sentences, which is essential for building fluency and expressing yourself more complexly.
Yeah, it's like they're giving you the building blocks.
Right.
Then showing you how to construct a whole house.
Exactly.
And one thing I really appreciate is that they didn't overwhelm you with vocabulary.
Yeah.
They were very selective about the phrases they focused on.
Yeah. It's a good point. Instead of throwing like a dictionary at you,
Right.
they chose phrases that are like commonly used in everyday conversation.
Exactly.
Making them much more practical for learners.
It's about giving you the tools you need to actually use the language.
Yes.
Not just memorize it.
Exactly.
Speaking of tools, let's talk about the additional features they include.
Okay, so they wrap up the video with a vocabulary review, which is a really smart way to help learners reinforce what they've just learned.
Right.
And they don't stop there.
What else?
They encourage viewers to visit their website for even more resources, which is awesome. And they even mention that they're active on the website answering questions, interacting with learners.
That's great.
It creates a real sense of community,
Yeah.
which can be so motivating, when you're tackling a new language.
Oh, for sure.
It's like having a direct connection to your teachers,
Yeah.
which can be incredibly valuable for
Right.
getting personalized support and feedback.
Totally. So what stands out to you most about this approach to language learning?
I think for me, it's the combination of like the practicality, the clear explanations, and the personal touches that really make it engaging.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a dry lecture,
Right.
but rather like a fun and supportive learning experience.
Absolutely.
And I think the focus on context and real-life situations is key.
Yeah.
After all, the ultimate goal of language learning is to be able to communicate effectively with others.
For sure.
Right.
Absolutely. So if you're looking for a way to brush up on your English skills or just want to explore a different approach to language learning, this video might be worth checking out.
It really might. And that brings us to a fascinating question. What other methods have you found helpful for language learning?
Yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, let us know. It's fascinating how this video manages to kind of weave in these subtle cultural insights
Right.
along with the language lessons.
Oh, yeah. Like
Yeah.
when they talk about the importance of like recognizing acquaintances.
Yes.
It's not just about the vocabulary.
Right.
It's about understanding like social dynamics in English-speaking cultures.
Exactly. It really highlights how language and culture are like so intertwined.
Yeah.
And they give you those like handy tips for navigating, those I know your face but moments.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
asking for a business card.
It's like they're giving you a cheat sheet
Right.
for all those awkward social encounters.
Exactly.
But what I found really interesting is how they kind of connect this idea of like speed and efficiency
Okay.
to language learning itself. Like they use the phrase, in a rush, and they also use in a bit of a hurry to kind of emphasize this need to like understand and speak quickly
Yeah.
in real world situations.
It's true. Sometimes you don't have like the luxury of pausing to think about grammar rules.
Right?
And I think the video subtly reinforces this by using those repeated dialogue exercises,
Yeah.
but at varying speeds.
Right.
It's like they're training your brain to process information more rapidly,
Yeah.
which is essential for fluency.
It's almost like building those mental reflexes
Yeah.
for quick thinking in English.
Exactly.
And then to your point about culture,
Yeah.
they also touch on this kind of casual communication style
Yeah.
that's common in a lot of English-speaking settings. Like they encourage using greetings like, how's it going?
Yeah.
Which is way more informal than the traditional, how are you?
Right. It's a great observation.
Yeah.
It's about going beyond just the words themselves and understanding the tone and the level of formality for different situations.
For sure.
And they do this without ever explicitly saying, hey, we're teaching you about culture too.
Right.
Just woven in.
It's subtle,
Yeah.
but effective.
Yeah. And it makes you realize that language learning isn't just about memorizing words and grammar.
Right.
It's about understanding the nuances of communication
Yes.
in a specific cultural context.
It's like learning to read between the lines,
Exactly.
picking up on all those unspoken cues.
Yeah.
That can be just as important as the words themselves.
Totally. And that's what makes language learning so fascinating.
Yeah.
It opens up a whole new way of perceiving the world.
Speaking of perceiving the world,
Yeah.
I was really impressed by how the video emphasized vocabulary that's like relevant to everyday life.
Yeah.
They didn't just throw like a bunch of random words at you.
Right.
They chose phrases that are like commonly used,
Yeah.
in real conversations.
Right. It's about equipping learners with the tools they need
Yes.
to actually use the language in practical situations.
And they reinforce this by providing like clear definitions and examples
Yes.
for each word,
Right.
ensuring that viewers grasp the nuances of meaning and usage.
It's like they're giving you the building blocks of language
Yeah.
and then showing you how to assemble them into meaningful sentences and expressions.
Right. And they even encourage viewers to actively review the vocabulary
Yes.
at the end,
Right.
which helps solidify those new words.
Exactly. Repetition is key for language acquisition.
Yeah.
And by connecting those words to real-world scenarios and like personal experiences, it creates these more memorable learning moments for the viewer.
It's like weaving a tapestry of language.
Yeah.
With each new word, like adding another thread
Uh-huh.
of richness and complexity.
I love that.
And what I find really fascinating is how they manage to address the emotional side of language learning as well.
That's so important.
They acknowledge that it can be challenging
Yes.
and even frustrating at times.
Absolutely. They normalize those feelings of self-doubt and encourage learners to just embrace the journey.
Right.
Warts and all.
Yeah, and I think that's particularly relevant for anyone who might identify as forgetful.
Oh, yeah.
They specifically mention techniques for dealing with those moments when things just slip your mind.
Absolutely. It's like they're saying, hey, it's okay to make mistakes. We've all been there.
Right.
It's about being kind to yourself.
Yeah.
And recognizing that language learning is a process.
Totally.
It's not a destination.
And it's a process that can be so rewarding.
It really can be. It opens up new avenues for connection, understanding, and personal growth.
I completely agree. Learning a new language isn't just about acquiring a skill.
Right.
It's about expanding your horizons.
Yes.
And embracing a new way of seeing the world.
It's about connecting with others on a deeper level.
Yeah.
Appreciating different cultures and ultimately enriching your own life experience.
Right.
And this video really does do a fantastic job of conveying that, that sense of possibility.
It's like they're giving you a glimpse into a whole new world.
Yes.
Waiting to be explored.
Exactly.
And speaking of exploring, remember that section where they talk about the additional features?
Oh, yeah.
At the end? I found that really interesting.
Oh, what about it?
Well, they encourage viewers to visit their website for more resources.
Right.
Which is great.
Yeah.
But what I found really interesting was they say that they're active on the site, like answering questions.
Oh, cool.
Interacting with learners.
Wow.
It's not just a one-way street.
Yeah.
It's a community.
That's so valuable and often gets overlooked.
Right.
Yeah.
Having that sense of community, like being able to connect with others who are going through the same process can be incredibly motivating.
Yeah, for sure. It's like they're building a support system for language learners.
Which can make all the difference.
Oh, totally.
When you're feeling stuck.
Especially when you're feeling discouraged. Yeah.
And it reinforces this idea that, language isn't just about rules and vocabulary.
For sure.
It's about connecting with other people.
It's about sharing experiences, perspectives, and ultimately ourselves with the world. And this video, even though it's just a short intro, it really captures that essence.
It does. It makes you realize that language is so much more than just words on a page or sounds, It's a bridge between cultures.
It's a way to break down barriers, build relationships.
Beautifully said. I think the key takeaway from this whole deep dive is that anyone can do this.
Yeah.
Anyone can embark on this journey of language learning.
Totally.
No matter your age or background, with the right approach and a little dedication.
A little bit of effort, yeah.
You can unlock a whole new world of possibilities.
It's true. It might not always be easy.
Yeah.
But it's definitely worth it.
And who knows, maybe someday we'll be doing a deep dive on your language learning journey.
Oh, I would love that.
That would be fun.
Until then, keep exploring.
Yeah.
Keep learning and keep connecting with the world around you.
And remember, as always, happy learning.